Next question.
Next question.
Okay.
All right. So after the Tsarist regime ended, how were Jews treated? I know the Bolsheviks had a revolution.
Right. Well, first was a February Revolution, which basically eliminated what I already told you, Pale of Settlement. So Jews became equal among equals, and they can move freely and occupy any position, go to any university, hold any government job, do whatever they want, basically. And many people, then there was a Bolshevik Revolution, which in many ways brought or enhanced freedom of Jews in Russian Empire. It's a well-known fact that many Jews welcomed the Bolshevik Revolution. Many Jews joined Bolshevik Party and played major role in the establishment of Bolshevik regime and were members of the first Bolshevik government. It's all very well-known facts. What is very important in this regard is that, of course, Bolsheviks, being communists, of course, treated Jews pretty well in the beginning, as long as they were not nationalists and being against any nationalism, of course. Bolsheviks made in the beginning, of course, we're talking about 1920s and first part of 1930s, every effort to incorporate Jews into their system by providing, as I already mentioned, opportunities for education, government jobs, opening Jewish theaters, libraries, publishing houses, Jewish schools. In a certain way, Soviet Union in 1920s, late 1920s, early 1930s, was probably one of the most liberal countries where Jews can achieve everything they wanted. Everything changed in late 30s, gradually, of course. But all in all, treatment was pretty well, pretty good, especially in comparison to what was before 1917. And if you ask me about anti-Semitism, of course it was still alive, but it was not government-sponsored any longer. There were no, discriminatory laws or measures against Jews. But anti-Semitism was still alive and kicking on what we would call at the ordinary level, in everyday life. Because Jews occupied positions in the Soviet government, especially in 20s, at the upper level, at the middle level, and even at the local level, this basically brought a lot of tensions between local population, Ukrainians, Belarusians, and you name it, Russians, and kind of defined their view of Jewish role in the Soviet system. Jews were not majority, of course. We have numbers, we have statistics, but for average Russian, for average non-Jew, the presence of Jews in the government, especially at the Soviet government, at the upper level, in positions of people's commissars, ministers, etc., created an image of that Jews are dominating Soviet Union, that they kind of play the most important role in formulating in Soviet policies, which many people didn't like for obvious reasons, when it comes to collectivization and confiscation of property, ideology, and many other issues. So on one hand, as I already said, just to summarize, there were no discriminatory laws, there were no anti-Jewish legislation. There was a penalty for the public expression of anti-Semitism. It was a criminal offense. People may go to jail and serve some time in jail if they publicly, express anti-Semitic views. So this is one level. On the other hand, when it comes to everyday life, there were many people in big cities, in small cities, everywhere, who didn't like the fact that Jews are playing such prominent role in the new Soviet society, and there were certain tensions. So people who remember that time, young people, you know, who were born after revolution, would, for the most part, say that they never experienced anti-Semitism in Soviet Union before the war. Well, people who probably older would provide you with some other facts, but in general, Jews were accepted into Soviet society and played a very major role in daily life of Soviet Union.
All right, cool. Let me backtrack for a second. I researched earlier that during sort of the end years of the the Tsarist regime, they tried to throw attention off of themselves by you know, throwing all the blame on the Jewish population, and things like pogroms were. Could you tell me a little bit about pogroms?
Well, pogrom, I think it's one